Yes.
And then tell us what you saw. I could continue to read, but I mean, tell us, what did you see when you started to move across America?
I saw just terrible devastation. The first thing I saw was I saw America just split in two, right down the middle. I think it was along the Mississippi or near there. It just split. It just split like it cracked, and then I saw. I also saw another. I think it was an earthquake, but it looked like it seemed to mirror the strokes of the sword. Then I saw the West Coast. I saw it just crack off like a saltine cracker. I don't know how to. It just broke off, and it just disappeared into the ocean, all the way from Mexico all the way up to Alaska. It looked like most of the coastline was gone, and the cities. And I saw 3 terrible nuclear explosions. I believe they were they didn't hit the ground, but they were like they talk about the EMP thing and strike, and there were 2 of them that came looked like out of the water, out of the ocean. I must have been from submarines off the coast, and then I believe it was the West Coast. Then I saw one that looked like an ICBM, a big rocket that took off, and it traveled some distance all the way out almost to space. But these didn't land on the ground. They exploded in the air, just over America, and there were like 1, 2, and the last one was the biggest one over the middle. It was the rocket, the big one, and they exploded in the outer atmosphere. And then I saw everything go dark, just like they say about the electricity. And then I also want to say, I think this is during the tribulation time, because I said tribulation dream. Now I know I believe in a rapture, and so I can't imagine these things happening in the time of grace, but I don't know. This is what I saw. I saw it looked like tribulation times. Terrible, terrible things happened. After that, I did see some lights, like some candles and things lit, and there were a lot of people that survived this. And then after that, I saw different scenes that flashed very quickly in my dream, but it was like I was there watching it. It was very vivid. I saw what looked like riot police, like elite, like you see sometimes when they're coming in, they have helmets, they have on, and some of them had light blue hats or helmets. I'm not sure, but they were like what didn't look like it was American. It looked like it was more of like a UN type of an international thing. I don't know, but they came into. They started entering into homes and they gave the people a choice. They came in heavily armed with machine guns, and they said, "You either you come with us. We have a place for you." And they drug many people out of their homes and brought them to these they were like concentration camps, but they didn't look like the World War II type. They looked sort of like they were made into that from schools and corporate buildings and warehouses, but there were a lot of them. And I knew this was happening not just in America, but this was happening worldwide. This emergency thing and to take over, and they brought them there. But the people that refused to go were just shot, and that was awful. I mean, I was in such shock. They just shot them and left them in their homes and went to the there were other things. It's kind of distressing it's like I relive it when I see it. Then I saw what looked like small. I don't know whether to call them. I call them a kiosk. I don't know. It was a small building that was like a prefab type of a building that was, and these little kiosks were set up in every little town, and everywhere, and people were starving. They had no food. There was looting, and gangs were, going about, and it was just awful. And people were starving, and these things were very sophisticated. They advertised food and water and shelter. Just come in here and we'll help you, and it looked very inviting. And a lot of people went, there's food, let's go, but it was a trap. They went in, and it was just like in the Bible. It talks about the mark of the beast. They were forced, but it was this hologram movie kind of, and where the Antichrist was three-dimensional. It was like he was in front of you, but he wasn't. But looked very. I've never seen technology quite this advanced, but it looked like that. And it gave, says, you're going to be all right. We'll take care of you. Just bow down on your knees and receive me, almost like he's Lord, But he said it in such a way that it didn't seem like a big deal, but it was. And they could not touch the person until they got down on their knees. I didn't put that in what I wrote, but when they got down on their knees, then it was like there was this automatic thing. They got stamped. It looked like an electronic tattoo or stamp, and I believe in some parts of the world it was on their forehead, some parts it was on their hand, the right hand, but I saw a forehead. I saw one, and then they went into this room in the back, and they had food, and they could eat, and they slept, and then, but when they came out, they were like zombies. They had lost their mind. They complete takeover, kind of like one of those, like iRobot movie or something. It was just a taking over their whole being. They lost their soul, and you could tell. And many of them, the ones that were young, the ones that were fit, they were immediately brought into the military, this police force, and they were given weapons, and they were like zombies. They went out and joined those police that were rounding everyone up. Then, but there was some. I watched 2 or 3, and it was so horrifying because it was so. There were some though that didn't. They said, no, I can't do that. I will not take that stamp. I will not bow to you. I will not bow to you. And then there was this terrible torture, but they were tortured, and yet nothing was happening on the outside. It was just the pain centers of their brain or something, and things were and they were screaming, and they'd scream and scream, and then finally, if they would still not yield, then there was like this light that went on, and then these lasers would just, one shot, it was like a red laser, or orange red, and it shot right through their brain and their heart, and then it just sliced their head right off. And then right after that, it was like somehow they just burned. I don't know if this is a dream, I don't claim to, but it was very, very vivid. I'm on my knees now as I'm telling it, because it just puts fear of the Lord in me. But I saw it's like somehow the body was just incinerated, and it was just a small pile of ashes, and it happened so fast. And what was so frightening or so terrible about it was that it was the efficiency that it was done so fast. And I'm a Jewish believer, and my wife's father survived the Holocaust, but he lost his whole family. And we've heard of the horrors of the Holocaust. That was as efficient as they could do it then. But this made that look like, it was so fast, and it was done so thoroughly, and the person just disappeared. They were incinerated, and that just was just I really, and I knew in my heart as I watched that this was something that was happening globally, not just in America, but this man that rose up, the Antichrist figure. I didn't see him, but I saw this movie thing. But it was like he was there, and I think that's what it means by the image of the beast, because it was an image, but it wasn't the beast. It was still very real. Then oh gosh, and then I saw other explosions. I saw cities that were, when I was taking this, like kind of flying over, and this is very similar to a vision I had in 1985 when the Lord showed me America, and he said, this is Babylon, and it was destroyed by nuclear warfare, and I saw bombs that had blown up and just obliterated different cities. Particularly on the West Coast, I saw Seattle, I saw Dallas, I saw different cities that I knew their location was, and and New York, and all big cities, and they were targeted, and they just weren't there. They were just. It looked like just like what would happen when they tested the H bombs. And just there was nothing there. I don't know where they came from. But that's what I saw, and I saw also one other thing I didn't mention. I saw a flood that it looked like the ocean. It looked very similar to the tsunami in Japan, except it was bigger, and it swept over a good portion of the southeast, Florida particularly, but the whole. I saw. I don't know what caused it, but I saw a big, giant wave just cover a portion of the southeast and underwater. And I also saw that same thing from the middle of America. So there was like 3 different places that I saw this flooding or water that it made parts of America just go under the ocean, so you couldn't see it anymore. And also into Canada a little bit. I didn't see Canada for some reason. I think this dream was focused on, of course, on America. But I have to believe that if God tells us something like that, He will always give us a chance to return to Him. But I also sensed that this was angel. Looked like, it wasn't just a little angel. This was maybe the captain of the whole. This was a mighty archangel. I don't know what, maybe Michael. I don't know who it was, but it was. I'll never be the same after just seeing that angel and the might and strength that he had, and the resolve, and it was like we had crossed a line, and it was like I was watching something that will come in the future.